Hey guys, what's going on? Josh here from Polymathics, the YouTube channel that helps you become a modern day Renaissance man. And as you guys can see, it's super cold here in Maryland, super windy, and I'm all bundled up ready to go to work. But I wanted to drop you guys a quick video on archetypes because here we are in National Novel Writing Month, and one of the best tools you can use for your characters is an archetype. And the reason is, during National Novel Writers Month, we don't always have time to do a full-fledged character study and really flesh our character out. And what an archetype allows us to do is use some basic symbolism to help make us choices about who that character is and what they'll do. Then we can go back later and add some quote-unquote flavor. Hey, that rhymed. In terms of, giving them maybe some more conflict. Maybe they're a little bit more conflicted. Maybe they're a little bit more layered. But that first layer should always, not always, but it makes it really easy in the beginning if you use an archetype. Now, some of you guys may be saying, Josh, what's an archetype? What is this crazy word that you're saying? And maybe some of you guys are like, oh yeah, I've known about this for a long time. Believe it or not, I had been reading books on writing and writing myself for 7 years or so before I had come across this sorcery, this crazy term called archetype. So don't feel bad if you don't know what it is. But essentially, an archetype is like a stereotype, except it's what we use in literature for characters. And another way to look at it is it's a symbol or a motif that a character represents in a story. And the way I like to think about it is that you can designate a type of personality to each one of your characters that represents a full-fledged person. Because as you're going through the book and you're exploring new ideas and things like that, what you really want is the character to be challenged from different angles. And the best way to do that is to challenge them from the angles that a person who's going through real life is challenged. So for example, their spirituality, their logic, their emotion, their reason, all of these different things. And all of those things that I just mentioned, by the way, are types of archetypes. Now, another type of archetype would be like the trickster, or the court jester, or the old wise sage and or mentor. And we see this in tons of movies. For example, Harry Potter, you have Dumbledore. In Star Wars, you have Obi-Wan, and you have Yoda and Qui-Gon Jinn. And then in Lord of the Rings, you have Gandalf. So all of those mentors are different, but at the core of them, they are the same. They represent the same thing. They represent wisdom, they represent experience, and they challenge the protagonist to do certain things throughout the stories. And a lot of times, for example, that particular archetype will normally challenge the protagonist to take on a journey in the first place, to take on a quest, and also provide them the magical, mystical tools or technology that they need in order to go on that quest. So two of my favorite archetype examples that you guys will readily understand are Kirk and Spock from Star Trek. Kirk represents emotion and Spock represents logic at the core of them. Now, they're more complex than that, and it's those nuances that makes them seem real, their flaws and their relationship and the conflict that is between them. But at the core of them, they can basically be broken down into logic and emotion. And when you do that, you can really explore different ideas. And then the great thing is as you're going through writing your first draft through National Novel Writers Month, instead of having to really rack your brain, like, how would this character react? What would they do in this situation? If you've set out what archetype they're representing, what one makes the most sense for them, then it's a lot easier to say a character who's logical will normally pick the logical option. A character who is emotional will normally pick the wild card option. And then there's also those times where they're pushed past their edge, past what they would normally do. And in those moments, they sometimes act outside of their range. And that's when you can do the exact opposite. And then that's when a character comes a little complex and things like that. But anyways, I thought this would help. And then lastly, before I go, let me just give you, there are three tools that I like to use when going to archetypes. If you research on the Googles or the YouTubes for archetypes, you're going to find all kinds of stuff. But the three ones that I recommend are a site called Dramatica. It's the theory of story, essentially. It's a new theory of story. And it was written by, I think, Rebecca and Chris Huntley. And it's really amazing, and it gives you a really good view, a new age kind of view on how stories should be written. And in it, they have a great breakdown of archetypes and how each character would react based on those archetypes. I think with them, they have like 7 basic archetypes, and those are the super core basic ones. And then there's another lady by the name of Victoria Lynn Schmidt, who's written 2 books. They're from writers. They were published by Writer's Digest. One is called A Guide to Characterization, and the other one is 45 Master Characters, something like that. You just look up Victoria Lynn Schmidt on like Amazon, and you'll see her books. They are phenomenal, and they go into great detail. She uses the Greek and Roman gods and goddesses as examples for archetypes, and she has a lot of great tools for you to sit down and in a very short period of time figure out which character or which archetype your character fits the best. And then you can just run with it. And then the other thing is you can go back and reference those books or that material on Dramatica. Whenever your character comes to a choice and you're not sure how they would react, there are notes in there on not to tell you how they should react, but just to get the juices flowing, to get the mind going, to say, okay, yeah, normally this archetype will represent this, and therefore that's how they work. Now, the other interesting thing that Victoria Lynn Schmidt does in her books, in one of her books, is she shows you the dynamics between different archetypes, both male and female. So if you have a female Amazon paired up with a male mentor or a male patriarch, how do they react to each other? Is it a good relationship? Is it a bad relationship? What can those two learn from each other, right? And that's where you can really start to build your story, because the plot and everything is driven by character, and character drives by constantly changing, constantly evolving. So anyways, I hope this stuff has been helpful, and I hope you now have a better idea of what an archetype is. For those of you who are in Nano, I think we need to have like 32,000 words by today. I just caught up last night. I had a great night. I got like almost 5,000 words in, so it was amazing. And so hang in there, keep fighting the good fight, and keep writing the good write. You guys, take it easy.